The Toyota LandCruiser 300 series has been updated and prices have gone up yet again. So in this review, I'm going to tell you whether this big 4x4 is worth your money. This one here is the Sahara. So it's one of the high grade 5-seat versions, but there are 7-seaters. And I'm going to tell you all about the lineup in this review. So stick around. If you haven't already, please subscribe and ring the bell. I'm also going to tell you some great alternatives to it. Let's go. There are still 6 different versions of the LandCruiser 300 series available in Australia, starting off with the work-focused hardcore GX grade. Now that rough and tumble version does come with, well, a more basic interior finish and a lot less inclusions in terms of the standard gear, but it gets a snorkel as standard, which might be appealing to you, and it also gets a few extra features like rubber floors, a 7-inch driver info screen, and an 8-inch touchscreen media system, cloth trim, and well, it's got steel wheels and 5 seats as standard. So it's certainly not the family car of choice. Up from it is the GXL, which could be the best choice for most families, I would say. It's a 7-seater and it adds a few extra features like 18-inch alloy wheels, side steps, roof rails, carpet, extra USB ports, wireless phone charging, and other good things like an auto-dimming rear view mirror. It also now gets a 40-20-40 split fold rear seat, quad zone climate control, and a surround view camera as standard as well. Up from there is the VX grade, and it will be one for those who just want a few extra features, and the price is a little bit higher. So the VX will add things like different looking 18-inch wheels, projector bi-LED headlamps with auto leveling, a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, and a bigger 12.3-inch infotainment screen with sat-nav, 10-speaker sound system, heated and ventilated front seats, a moonroof, electric passenger seat adjustment, a power boot, and a few other bits and pieces. Now, up from there is the Sahara, which is this one here. It's another 7-seater, and it does cost a little bit more, but it's pretty well equipped for the cash. The Sahara grade includes things like flashy chrome on the exterior, real leather seats, there's a power folding 3rd row, rear entertainment screens, a 14-speaker JBL sound system, a head-up display, heated and ventilated 2nd row seats, and a heated steering wheel, as well as driver's seat memory settings. Now, if you want a few more features above the Sahara, there's the Sahara ZX, which costs a few grand more, and it adds 20-inch wheels, illuminated side steps, a kick sensor for the tailgate, and a black and rose interior option if you want it, but it is only a 5-seater, and so is the GR Sport. Now, I did a review of the GR Sport as my most recent LandCruiser 300 test, and well, basically not much has changed there. So if you want a bit more information on the GR Sport, hit the review link in the description. And well, I still don't think it's the best option you could pick if you are looking for a LandCruiser 300 series, because the GR Sport, while it does have a few extra features that make it a bit different, it isn't necessarily the most fitting option. So let's talk about some alternatives that you might want to consider if you're thinking about the 300 series, but you're not quite sure about it. First and foremost, I reckon you should take a look at the Nissan Patrol. It is a very amenable 7 or 8-seat large SUV, and it does have a few different versions available, all of them with a petrol V8 engine for now. There's a new version of this Patrol coming very soon, but the Warrior version of the Patrol is my favorite. I think it's absolutely amazing. The things it can do off-road straight out of the box is excellent. Another option you might want to check out is the Lexus GX. Now, it's only available with a petrol engine at this point in time, and it's an absolute cracker of a petrol engine. It's just really, really thirsty. So if you are okay with, well, higher fuel consumption, well, maybe it will be a great choice, but it's also got some luxurious elements and a few different versions available, so you can pick which one suits your needs, and it's pretty close on price to this car. And finally, if you are thinking, well, I don't want to spend this much money, I want to spend less, what about the Ford Everest? It's excellent. It's a 3-row SUV if you want it to be. There's 4x4 versions with a bi-turbo 4-cylinder diesel or a V6, which is excellent, and it could be a great choice if you're not so sure about going for one of those petrol options I mentioned earlier. But hey, you might also be thinking, maybe I should wait for some of the new Chinese models to come. I think I would be too. Make sure you ring the bell and you'll be notified when I get a chance to do any review. And well, there's going to be some really interesting new models coming from China very, very soon. Now, I'm going to show you this thing in profile. Not much has changed there, but I'm going to also show you some dimensions on your screen. They're all around 5 meters long, but it does vary depending on which variant you choose. And also, I'll show you the off-road angles that you might want to pay attention to. And yes, the Sahara ZX has a worse approach angle because it gets a lower lip spoiler. It's not really off-road focused. We'll get to some of the weights and considerations for that sort of stuff in the engine section, but let's have a look at the back end. Again, one can't really see anything that's changed here, but this Sahara model, well, it's a 7-seater, so let's have a look in the boot and see what the space is like. It also gets an electric tailgate, and it's quite slow and it beeps a lot, but in 5-seat layout, you can see for yourself, that's a whole lot of space. It's certainly going to be family friendly if you are looking for a 5-seater with heaps of room. And you do have the electrically adjustable 3rd row seats, so this might be something that annoys you because it takes a long time to do, but you might actually find it to be very, very handy because, well, it means you don't have to reach all the way in, and you might not be able to reach, quite frankly, because it's a long way in. But as you can see there's not a whole lot of space behind the 3rd row if you are going to use it as a full-time 7-seater all the time. So yes, just keep that in mind. It's not as practical as you might be hoping for. And back here, you'll also see you do have a nice inclusion in the form of a power point. There's a light there, but not much else in terms of the shopping bag hooks or amenities that you might be hoping for. But yeah, what do you think? Could you make that work for you? Now, let's jump in and see what's changed inside, if anything. Okay, here it is, the interior of the updated LandCruiser 300 series. And in this spec, you don't really see any changes, but in the lower specs, depending on the one you pick, then you might get this 12.3-inch screen as standard now. It was previously only reserved for the very high-grade versions. And also this 12.3-inch screen right here is now more readily available as well. So really, the changes to the interior depend on which version you pick. And obviously that's a big consideration because there's a lot of cost involved in which one might be right. But let's have a look at these controls and these screens and everything else in this interior. So first of all, get rid of that little warning sign. And as you can see, this display does have a fair bit on it and some adjustments that you can make on the screen there if you want to turn some safety stuff off. And you can also adjust different displays if you want to as well. Now the controls on the steering wheel, they're nice, they're chunky, they're easy to get to terms with. Cruise control and so forth on this side. And you've got some media controls and screen controls for that driver info screen right there. And here you've got lights and blinkers as you would expect on the right side, wipers on the other side. Down here, there is some memory settings for the driver's seat and some other controls down there, including a tailgate popper and, well, all the usual stuff that you would expect. And here, let's have a look at this 12.3-inch screen. So it does have sat-nav as standard, and as you can see, it's also got wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. It works pretty well. I've had no issues with it so far. And this broader screen menu display with these menus, I mean, I don't think this is the most finished piece of software that I've experienced in my life. And I've had some issues with it over the past, but look, I think you'll get used to it pretty fine. And if you just use Apple CarPlay like me, then you won't really need to deal with it. So that's great. Now you've got some volume toggle switches down there. You can turn off the screen right there. This bank of controls down here is really, really great. So I'll turn on the aircon so you can see it, if I can. There we go. So you've got your climate adjustments toggle switches. You've also got some fan toggle adjustment right there. You can toggle to use the rear temperature settings if you wish from the driver's seat or the passenger seat if that's the case. You can adjust where the air is going, and also you've got a recirc button there, demister buttons there, and you've got the controls you would expect for the comfort element. So a heated steering wheel, and heated and ventilated seats in this grade, and that's for the passenger as well, of course, and that makes it a very nice place to sit. Down here you'll find a number of controls for the driving stuff, so drive mode controller, mode selector, and also some off-road stuff down there. And in front of the shifter there's a little storage box. You've got a camera view mode there, and if I push this button, it's sort of hidden away there, you'll see you've got HDMI and USB-C ports, which is great, wireless phone charger, and you've also got your low range controller there, your center diff lock button, and also you've got a turn assist function so you can spin around a little bit easier when you're off-roading. Now, there's an auto hold button to stop you from creeping forward in traffic if you don't want to, electronic park brake, decent set of cup holders, and you've got a covered center console bin in here. As you can see, it's pretty large, and it also is a cool box. So if you want to cool things down, you can make them cold in there, which is kind of nice. This also has a dual opening capability, so you can open it that way or you can open it there, that way. It's just a bit finicky. And over here you'll see there is a high glove box which has a good amount of storage. Down there, not much to see. Big set of door pockets with bottle holders. Nice finishing. I mean, the wood trim might not be for everyone. Thankfully, it's not everywhere. It's just sort of here and on the doors. And these seats, they are lovely. Leather, comfortable and supportive, and very, very handy. So up here, you'll also notice you've got a hoik handle, grab handle up there, and same on this side. Love that. Over here, you'll notice we've got some adjustable sun visors, plus the illuminated vanity mirrors that you would hope for, an auto-dimming rear view mirror, sunglasses holder, and you've got an SOS call button as well. Now, it has connected services, but you have to pay for it after like 12 months, so that might be an issue, not necessarily for the SOS call function, but for some of the online menus that are available on the screen here. And there's a moonroof, or just a sunroof. Toyota calls them moonroof. So does Lexus for some reason. Now, up front, very good. Let's check out the second and third rows in this Sahara grade. 2GB. No, not listening to radio, but there's a screen here that allows you to use some of the controls and change the radio station or whatever if you have the headphones on, which are available in this car. You've also got a number of other menus. If you want to play with this screen setup, there's dual screens. I reckon that's good. I mean, if you've got a HDMI thing that you can plug in, it might keep the kids entertained on the longer trips, but it does really eat into your space. Like, I'm 6 foot tall and that feels like it's way too far in my face, and also my knee room is limited for a car of this size. Like, it's ridiculously bad, in fact, for this kind of car. And footroom is very tight too. There are some mat pockets down there, so that's at least a little bit handy. What about headroom? Well, it's not exceptional either. So if you are worried about backseat space, I think it's fair to be worried because it's not as big as you might be hoping for. Now, over here, you've got some grab handles. There are some little hooks up there for coats. There's overhead vents, and there's a whole little station here for your climate controls. So if I can get it to work, there we go. There's a number of adjustments you can make. So it's got quad zone climate control now, which is great. And you've also got ventilated and heated seats for the window seat occupants in this particular grade. And that is a very nice inclusion. So yep, you can hear the fan kick into life there. And also down below, HDMI port, that's to plug into these screens. You've also got USB-C ports and your headphone jacks, because they still have to plug in. They're still headphones, not wireless. You've got this little intrusion to contend with as well. And when it comes to the overall space back here, well, you can fit a child seat pretty easily, obviously, but again, not as much space as you're probably hoping for. And these seats don't slide. So that could be a big consideration if you are planning to use this for family duties. There are ISO fix points in the window seats, 3 top tethers for this row of seats. And here you've got a flip down armrest with some cup holders, and that's quite handy. But let's jump into the third row. It's now a 40-20-40 split, by the way. I'll jump in the back, show you what the space is like, if I can get out. But, right, let's do this folding mechanism. So there's no top lever, which is maybe a little bit frustrating. It can do this, Whoa, I've hit the screen. That is not good, people, because with my driver's seat set where it is, I can't get into the third row. So just give me a sec, I'll move my driver's seat and yeah, we'll keep going. Right, so there we go. Now it flips and tumbles, but that is a serious consideration. If you're, 6 foot tall or taller, that's gonna be a pain in the bum, especially if you do have a child seat on that side, as I do. That's the safest spot in the car. So let's jump in and I'll show you what the space is like back here. Let me just fold this seat back down, make sure I don't get my feet crushed. Right, so that is now set to quite an upright position, but yeah, speaking of upright, my knees are way up and there's not much foot room down there to actually fit my feet unless I go like that. That's just a bit awkward feeling. These seats, they are not great. They're not very comfortable and they don't have top tethers or ISOFIX points. So realistically, this might be considered one of the 7-seaters to think about, but honestly, it's not that great when it comes to the third row configuration or the usability of it. I mean, yes, I've got enough room, but I wouldn't want to sit here for more than an hour because these seats are pretty yuck. But there are some inclusions back here, like you've got USB-C port and you've got a little seat adjuster, so you can actually adjust the recline of the seat, which might actually be handy, but it's maybe not excellent. And here you've got some cup holders. There's also controls down there to lower and raise these third row seats. And, well, you've got the same on the other side too. There are vents in the back and grab handles too, which is good if you do actually intend to take people with you and go off-roading in this big 7-seater, but yeah, it's kind of a weird backseat experience. All LandCruiser 300 models currently sold in Australia use a 3.3 litre twin-turbo V6 diesel engine, making 227 kilowatts of power, 700 newton meters of torque. It's a corker of an engine, I'll show you shortly. Comes as standard with a 10-speed automatic transmission and full-time 4-wheel drive with a centre diff lock standard as well. Now the Sahara ZX adds a rear limited slip differential, while the GR Sport has front and rear locking diffs, and all versions have a braked towing capacity of 3,500 kilos. I'll also put on screen here the gross vehicle mass, which is 3280, and the gross combination mass, 6750. So yes, this is a truck that's made for doing what you would hope to be able to do with a LandCruiser 300 series that costs this much. So let's go drive it and see what it's like to live with. It's hard to feel like you're not a bit of a boss when you're driving the LandCruiser 300 series. I gotta say, it is a really quite commanding thing to drive because of the stance, obviously. It sits up high, you get a good view out, and you feel like you are sort of above a lot of the traffic, which is kind of cool. The other thing about it is that you just know that you've got so much torque available to you from this diesel 6-cylinder engine. I mean, oh God, 700 newton meters. Like, that was barely breathing on the throttle and it's just ready to power on and keep going. It is a fantastic engine. I can't understate how good and how likable this engine is. It's just so amenable at a mix of different things. It's great at urban driving, it's great at high-speed driving, and it's pretty good when it comes to the other stuff that you'd expect of a 300 series as well. Now, it is a full-time 4-wheel drive vehicle, so it's in high-range 4-wheel drive all the time. That means that it feels safe, it feels like it's not going to get squirmy or skittish, and it means that you do have the all-around capability and the traction that you will need in wet weather situations, or if you go to the snow or whatever, gravel roads, dirt roads. Yes, it will feel like it has a sure-footed feeling, and that is an important consideration, I think, for a vehicle this size, for the kind of person who's going to buy it. So let's talk about the other elements of the drive experience. Well, this 10-speed automatic transmission, it does have a lot of gears to play with, but it is a smooth operator. It's very, very well considered. Doesn't really seem to get anything wrong, in my opinion. It knows what it's doing, and you don't need to think about it. That's the best a transmission can be, in my opinion. If you do want to take matters into your own hands, you can. There is a manual mode, no paddle shifters, but yeah, if you're towing or something, you might want to be able to use the stick yourself and shift gears or as you go. So look, engine and transmission, amazing. Steering, also surprisingly quite good. This is a big vehicle. It weighs quite a bit, but it is still very, very easy to pilot around town, whether it's, you know, when you're just doing what I'm doing right now, urban driving, or if you are doing higher speed driving, it sits stable on the road at high speeds. It's very easy to quickly change direction if you need to. I mean, it's not the ultimate driving tool, but it's not supposed to be. It's a big 4x4. It's got that heft that you expect of an off-roader when it comes to the steering weight. And it's also maybe a little bit heavy at lower speeds, and it does have a big turning circle too. So keep that in mind for those quick turnarounds when you're doing the school drop-off or something like that. And beyond that, ride comfort is exceptional. It is really, really comfy, this vehicle. It's super duper easy to get along with. And look, in my previous review of the GR Sport, I found the ride to be pretty bloody unpleasant. And that's because the GR Sport has a different suspension setup altogether, and it really does suffer because of that, in my opinion. This is a much more amenable family SUV experience, and realistically, there's not a whole lot to complain about. It's quiet, it's refined, it's mature, and it's strong feeling on the road. And the brake pedal feel is maybe the only thing that I don't love. It does have a bit of a travel to it before it starts to bite. So bear that in mind. It's a big, heavy vehicle, and it feels a bit big and heavy when you're braking. But honestly, not a whole lot to complain about. And even the safety systems are better now than the last time I drove it. Maybe there was some work done. Maybe this car's just been calibrated better, but the bing bongs are gone, and it's very easy to get along with. There's the speed sign recognition system, but it doesn't get in your way of the drive experience. And the lane keeping, you turn it off pretty quickly if you don't like it. I did on the highway, but yeah, it's all just really good in lots of different ways. So it should be for the money, right? And one other thing, like the visibility around this vehicle, it is big, but it feels pretty easy to see out of. So you've got nice large mirrors. They're not in the way, so they won't stop you from seeing what's coming in an intersection. And also you've got the surround view camera system on most models, and that does make a big difference because it helps you see more than you would otherwise be able to see. And the over shoulder vision, it's not fantastic. But one thing that I will also add, if you do have all of the seats full, your rear view mirror view is not going to be very good, and there's no digital camera mirror. So lots of other SUVs in this segment, you can flick a switch and it'll use a camera to show you the view instead. Not in this one. So that is maybe a consideration. Yeah, could make it a little bit more livable if it did have a digital camera mirror. Okay, the official diesel consumption figure for this vehicle is on your screen now. And I mean, yeah, if you can achieve that, you'll be stoked. I haven't been able to get quite that low during my week of testing. The number for my mix of driving, which is highway, freeway, urban, stop-start, errands, shopping, all that sort of stuff, you'll see it on your screen right now. So look, I think that's okay for a vehicle of this size with this kind of engine, but certainly not as frugal as maybe the sticker number suggests it probably could be. And if you're wondering, it does have a pretty big fuel tank capacity. So there's an 80 litre main tank and a 30 litre sub tank, so 110 litres total. And it's diesel, and it doesn't need AdBlue. So it's a Euro 5 emissions vehicle. Maybe that'll change at some point. But it doesn't need AdBlue at this point in time, so that's another consumable you don't have to consider. The LandCruiser 300 series, except the GR Sport model, has a 5-star ANCAP safety rating from recent testing, and it's got a whole host of standard safety technology and equipment to achieve that kind of score. You've got autonomous emergency braking with pedestrian and cyclist detection. There's also things like lane trace assist as standard now. That's lane centering and lane keeping assistance and adaptive cruise control, so that's pretty handy. There's a few other things that are included as standard on all grades, like speed sign monitoring, which is actually pretty handy. And with the connected services, you also get things like stolen vehicle tracking, as long as you pay for it after the first 12 months. Now, there's a few things that the GX base model misses out on. So it comes with a reversing camera. That's it. It doesn't get front or rear parking sensors. It doesn't get a surround view camera. It doesn't get blind spot monitoring or rear cross traffic alert. You have to step up to the GXL grade to get all those things included, and all the other models above it get those features. And when it comes to airbag coverage, there are 10 fitted to the LandCruiser 300 series. So you've got dual front side, driver's knee, passenger's knee, rear side, and curtain coverage for all 3 rows of occupants if you choose a 7-seat version. If you choose a 5-seater, the curtain airbags still extend to the 2nd row, but not the 3rd row. Toyota Australia offers a 5-year unlimited kilometre warranty, but that's just the start. If you're thinking about extending the powertrain warranty, you can. Make sure you service your vehicle on time, whether it's with Toyota or someone else, and you will be able to get up to 7 years of powertrain warranty, which is pretty good. Now, speaking of servicing, your intervals are a little short, 6 months and 10,000 Ks, which might be a real pain in the backside. That means the cap price servicing plan is 5 years or 100,000 kilometers. But honestly, the consideration with the servicing is something that can't be understated. If you're not asking everything of this vehicle all the time, you might find it a bit needy to take it back every 6 months or so for maintenance. I would. Now, the service costs are the same over that cap price plan. I'll put the average cost on your screen right now. And speaking of costs, you do have to pay extra for roadside assistance if you are buying a Toyota. Lots of other brands throw it in for free, but you have to pay for it if you buy one of these machines. But hey, they're pretty reliable, aren't they? The old Toyotas? The Toyota LandCruiser 300 series is no doubt a suitable vehicle for those looking for a punchy, powerful and practical SUV with off-road capability and big towing capacity. There's no doubt about that, but it costs a lot. And I'd love to know whether you think it costs way too much, because personally, I think it's a bit exy. So what do you reckon? Have your say in the comments section below. Would you choose it? Do you own one? Have your say. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and I'll see you when I see you.